Praying for trust. This is the fifth video in the series Praying for Your Future Spouse. This video is for both men and women seeking their Christ-centered spouse. Until now, we have been praying that our spouse be our future spouse, be God lover, be filled with patience, understanding, and that he or she may give their heart to God, that he may tend the garden of their heart, and that the garden of the heart may be filled with his presence, that they may seek him more than they seek each other, and that they may find each other as they seek him. And as you've been praying, I'm sure that you have been experiencing certain changes in your own life. Those changes are very fundamental, because praying is not a passive act, it's an active act. It is so active that the person who prays and the person for whom he prays or she prays both get transformed in the process. That's what makes it so powerful. Trust is relying absolutely on God. As this verse says, "But I trusted in," that is, I relied on and was confident in you, O Lord. I said, "You are my God." The very definition of trust is nothing but telling the Lord that you are my God. You trust God to such an extent that you make this statement of faith. You are my God. I don't see you, I experience you, and I know that you are taking care of my situation. I know that you have the highest of high plans for me, plans that I can never fathom or dream of. And I know that the person that you have chosen, the person that you have ordained for me, the person that you have willed for me, created for me from all eternity, is the person who is going to be my future spouse, the person with whom I will walk this pilgrimage and arrive at my destination in Christ. So here's a visual analogy for you. As you prayed so far, you have realized that now it takes three, not two. There are three people. A triangle has been formed. The topmost vertex is represented by God. These two vertices are you and your future spouse. And as you have been praying for each other, you are inching closer towards God. And this is what it looks like. The triangle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller as you are inching towards God. It is like this. As both of you pray, you are inching towards God, and the triangle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until the time, that is in eternity, where you are now immersed completely in Him. But if it is just the two of you that seek each other without having any reference to God, then this is what happens. The triangle, which was quite symmetrical, is now no longer symmetrical until it's just a line. That's because the distance between you and God has not changed. But as you prayed so far, the distance has been changing. You have been coming closer to Him. As you seek Him, you are coming closer to each other. So as you pray for trust, it's nothing but relying on your right to approach God. As you allow God to be God in your life, you are relying on your right, your privilege as a child of God to approach Him, to enter into His stillness when nothing makes sense, to be able to confide and voice out and emote. If you notice, as you read the Psalms were not written in a goody fashioned manner. Many of the Psalms are quite emotional in their approach. The psalmist creates the psalms, which are nothing but prayer songs, from his or her heart, to such an extent that you can clearly see emotions in psalms. And God wants us to pray just like that. That is the meaning of trust. Trusting God to the extent that you can trust Him with your emotions, you can trust Him with your voice, you can trust Him with your deepest secrets, because you know in Him there is a solution for all things. God can write straight from crooked lines. That is what trust means. And Jesus gave us the amazing verse which capsules trust. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. That was Jesus' idea of prayer, relying completely on God in secret, in the sanctity of intimacy with God. Now, as you pray in the intimacy with God, as you're lost in prayer, trusting Him completely, it also means believing that your prayers will work in the life of your future husband, even though you can't see him today. It's like calling for reinforcements. As you pray for your future husband, as you trust in the Lord, you are actually calling for reinforcements. Because there will be times in your future spouse's life when he or she will require help from heaven, where nothing else works, and suddenly a miracle happens. Maybe he or she is going through a job loss right now. Maybe they have lost some loved one. Maybe they are grieving. You never know. And your prayers can open the gates of heaven, gates of abundance into their lives. I have already shared earlier in my earlier videos how Sahana's trust in God, how her prayer for me protected me and preserved me from so many harmful people as well as harmful situations. And God will do the same with your prayers as well. Now, the opposite of trust is nothing but worry. When you worry, you are not trusting God. It's as simple as that. Let's not naturalize worry. In a Christian's life, there is no place for worry because of what Christ has done for you and me. So worry should not be there in the vocabulary of Christians. And if it comes, then there is a technique for that. So for example, you may be worried about several things right now because you're not aware that worry is anti-trust. It's like saying, God, I don't trust in your capacity to solve my problem. It's just telling God, you're not God. It's as simple as that. So you may be having a lot of worries right now. Let's try a technique to get rid of your worries. You may have worries like you're worried that I'm the only one at school or at office or at my workplace who has never gone on a date. Maybe that insecurity came right from the school level, that you never went on a date, and maybe you'll never get a date. I'm not that good looking. I'm worried that I'm not that good looking. As if good looks was the criteria in God's eyes. That's not. It's what the world has imposed on you and me. Worry is nothing but world telling us not to trust in God. You may have a worry which says that I'm worried because I'm not outgoing enough. I don't meet a lot of people. And so I may not be getting the attention. So how can I meet the right person? These are all human reasonings. They've got nothing to do with God. God's designs don't work this way. By now you know how God's designs work. They're totally opposite of what this world tells you. You may be worried that you'll end up as a loser if you don't strive for someone better. Maybe you feel that in order to be successful, I need to marry a successful person. Again, that's a design of the world. Unrealistic criterias. We know of so many cases in our marriage counseling wherein the husband and wife are both well settled and yet they are not able to make peace with each other. Some of them are divorced, others are just staying together but already mentally and spiritually divorced. A sad state of affairs. You may be worried that because of the mistakes you have done in the past, no one will accept you and no one will come for you. If that was the case, none of us would be saved. Remember, God's economy is different. The way God looks at things is different. And so, what I want you to do is write down all your worries. Just write them down. Let them come unhindered. Whatever words come to your mind, whatever worries come to your mind, do not hinder them. Let them come. Just write them down in a piece of paper. And now, as you've written down, hand this paper over to God. Place your hand over that paper, pray over that paper, and tell the Lord, Lord, I am giving this burden to you. This does not belong to me. This does not give glory to you. I am giving you this burden. What I have written, I have written. I surrender this to you. I trust you that you will take this burden and give me a yoke which is light, as your word says. And as you feel satisfied after praying, you may burn that or discard that paper away. But do it by the grace of God. Do it gently. Do it in a very authentic manner. Feel God's presence as you do it. I would like to end with this quote, which I found to be amazing and great. Very insightful quote by Oswald Chambers. Get into the habit of dealing with God about everything. Unless in the first waking moment of the day, you learn to fling the door wide back and let God in, you will work on a wrong level all day. But swing the door wide open and pray to your Father in secret, and every public thing, every project that you undertake, every person that you pray for, every person that you meet, everything that you do will be stamped with the presence of God. And this is what trust is all about. I pray that God develops trust in you. I pray that you trust God with everything today. Hand over the pen of your life in God's hands today. The prayers have been already included in the link. You can go through the prayer links and go ahead and pray. Go ahead and sit in the secret place with God. Make peace with Him. Pray. Develop trust with Him. And you will see amazing things happening in your life and in the life of your future spouse.